is that new Google? I'm not that BT Infinity.
It's good, yeah. I mean, for using things like Love Film or BBC iPlayer but on the TV,
Yeah.
it's ideal really. Because you can switch iPlayer to HD as well, so it's like watching a program again without watching sort of pixelated catch up.
Unfortunately, we don't get BT Infinity in my area. I mean, the West End of London, and I've always found that all stuff like that never actually get.
Right, okay, we can go, I think. Went straight into a clip that was so dying to get into it.
I know. Well, welcome.
Hello, the internet.
Hi, I'm Sean,
And I'm Elisar.
and this is
Those Video Guys.
So, you nearly got to meet Stan Lee this week. didn't
Almost. He was just on the other side of the room.
you? Right.
I actually never even got a glimpse. I did get a glimpse of him towards the end.
Hmm.
He did a panel at the London Supercomic Con on
Yeah.
both days. Second day, I managed to get
Well,
to
you were
the...
there both days. Did you not went to go to his panel both days?
Well, it was just packed, and then I
Right.
was busy because there was women in superhero costumes.
I know, it was Stan Lee. This is the only time a 90-year-old dude trumps a woman in a superhero costume.
No. I did actually get to the second panel he did on the second
Yeah.
day. I did see him across the room,
Mm.
so that was quite thrilling.
Did he say anything interesting in his panel?
Well,
What you saw?
I kind of missed it and just
Oh,
got there
right.
for the end when it was just like everyone was applauding him.
Oh,
But it was Stan Lee. I got to see him, and yes. But
I
you know
was
what?
just
The
wondering if anybody-
crowds.
After you brought up the other week, if anybody brought up the whole Jack Kirby.
I don't know.
situation.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be quite. I wonder what his take on it is. Not that he
Yes.
really cares, because there's nothing to do with him anymore.
Mm.
You know.
But what was very funny that I was reading up on this whole Jack Kirby situation and the rights and everything.
So just re-explain
And
to those watching
all right.
what we mean by the Jack Kirby situation.
The Jack Kirby situation is that Jack Kirby and
His estate since.
his estate. This is since his good 10 years after. Well, actually, nearly 20 years after his death. But his estate has tried to get the copyright back on his characters. He co-created nearly all of the Marvel comic characters with Stan Lee. I say nearly all. There
It's
are
19
one or two, but about
most of the
80
1960s characters. Yeah.
80% of the characters of note were created with him, by him, with Stan Lee, and his estate was basically not received a penny really from. They don't receive any reprint fees. They're receiving nothing from the Avengers film, nothing from the Iron Man film.
It's an interesting one because the Marvel way of writing comics was the writer wouldn't write a detailed script. It's
Well,
like,
all writers would just give the art. Basically,
here's an idea.
it would give. From what I understood, it was like a page to 2-page synopsis.
Yes.
The artist would go away
And essentially create
eventually
everything.
fill it out, and then But the funny thing is, if you look at Stan Lee in the 70s and the 80s and 90s, Stan Lee hasn't written a decent comic book since Jack Kirby left Marvel. It's a fact. I mean, he created some of the greatest things, but since Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko left Marvel, Stan Lee hasn't done anything of note. On the flip side, you can say exactly the same for Jack Kirby. That when Jack Kirby left Marvel Comics and stopped working with Stan Lee, all his work is basically not very good.
Yes.
So I think that alone, basically for me, says that
They were a
Stan
team.
Lee and Jack Kirby were a team. They definitely, their best work of their entire career was
Working
with
together.
each other.
Indeed, yeah.
But
So-
it's even like the Silver Surfer. Stan Lee gave the plot synopsis of that these two parts of this two-part Fantastic Four story to Jack Kirby to draw, and Stanley had worked out the character of Galactus and everything that was going on. And when he got the pages back, suddenly there was this character, the Silver Surfer, there. As Stanley was like, "What's this?" And Jack Kirby said, "I felt you should have a herald." So that was areas where the artist was as important, really, to the direction of the story.
And because actually the artist with the art did actually create and work out the story as it was on the page, and then the writer would then be given those pages and then fill in the dialogue and what they were actually doing. So in those early days of Marvel, it was very much a writer-artist collaboration.
Yes.
Much more so now, I suppose, when writers they write very detailed scripts, and you can just change which artist you want.
Did you know that the scripts for the Watchmen, it's 28-page comic. The scripts used to be 150 to 200 pages long. Right. Sometimes you'd have a page of detail just for one panel.
Yes, indeed. So we've got some superhero-related.
We always have some
videos to review.
You do stuff on YouTube. The things people seem to love on YouTube are cats, dogs, Batman, Superman, Lego, and Star Wars. That's what everything on YouTube. Oh, and people
video games.
Falling over. And Mario, yeah.
And people doing Adobe Premiere guns.
Or playing their ukulele.
Indeed. So anyway, I guess we'll just kick off with a superhero-related video.
Yes, Batman.
Since we're in the subject.
Batman's Night Out. This video had over 1 million hits in a week.
And here's one.
Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they?
Oh my god, you're crazy.
I'm Batman. Where are they? It's Friday. Friday. Gotta get done on Friday. Can I have 5 tokens, please? Do you know how to drive stick?
So, the genesis of this particular video is that the filmmakers actually went out and thought, let's do one of those shit somebody says.
Yes.
It's going to be shit Batman says.
Yeah.
But actually, they ended up having more fun just having Batman wandering around, shouting Batman slogans at unsuspecting members of the public.
Fun thing is, I found this funny, but I have seen things like this done. Like I remember in the 90s, there was a group of people I knew who used to just go out random places in their Star Trek uniforms and things like that. And you do wonder when people are going to London Expo or something, when they're in all their fancy dress costume. And
yes, exactly. I mean, if they're dressed up as a superhero, going to a convention,
and San Diego,
and a little old granny needs help crossing the road, will they actually run there and actually help that granny cross the road?
When I was at DragonCon last year in Atlanta, I walked out the convention at one point and I ended up getting stuck because there was a police cordoning the place off because there was a bomb alert that there was a bomb in the local bank, and I watched this guy get put in all the armour. Have you seen the Hurt Locker?
Mm-hmm.
All that kind of gear. And as this was going on, I was like, what the hell's going on? I just saw Thor and Captain America and Superman and
they were
Green
just
Lantern
ignoring it.
just sat in the bar
drinking
doing
coffee.
Nothing while this is going on. And I actually came to the conclusion that somebody had just left a proton pack from their Ghostbusters costume in the bank, and that's probably what it all was about.
Yeah, I think Batman's Night Out is quite funny. There are quite a lot of channels that do Batman videos.
There's tons, but people love Batman and dressing. I mean, the guy looked like that. I mean,
It was a great
costume was great.
Good costume.
It wasn't just a good. You see people at events and stuff like dressed like Batman and a bit overweight. Or he okay, it's only this you talk, but he had the back. You looked at him, and
of course
you could have stuck him in a film, and that would have been.
And Christian Bale has created a voice that is so spoofable.
Yes.
Yes, I gotta talk like this.
But that is youtube.com, The Sean Ward Show. Sean as in Sean Harry, SEAN, not SHAUN, as in Sean the Sheep. Yes.
Who wants to be a sheep? Rather be Batman. But this is a fun video. I'd definitely say check it out. I give it 3 martinis.
Yeah, I'll give it 3 martinis too.
Yes.
So we have 2 video game related videos now, but these are video games transposed into real life.
Now this we see a lot of.
We did that Mario one a couple of weeks back.
I found this one particularly interesting because I don't know about you, but I have this absolute paranoid fear. Every morning when I wake up, I'm actually in a cold sweat wondering if today will be the day of the zombie apocalypse.
And that leads us
You know it's going to happen.
This is zombie killing Minecraft style.
Yes.
You can tell what he's going to do with the TNT, I think.
I haven't played Minecraft. I'm not. It's a very much a PC phenomenon. So, but I am aware of. I think we all are aware of the whole zombie apocalypse phenomenon.
Well, I mean, but if zombies are as slow as these Minecraft ones in this video, I mean, you just run away.
I've thought of if there is a zombie apocalypse, and it's George A. Romero zombies, then it's going to be actually a lot of fun. I'm just going to make sure I get a lot of guns, go around to the local police station or the gun store, get some guns, get some weapons, find myself a good place to hold up, and it's just going to be action and adventure. But if it's like a running zombie, like Dawn of the Dead remake or 28 Days Later, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do? And what if shooting in the head doesn't work, like in Return of the Living Dead?
Flamethrower.
But then the flamethrower in Return of the Living Dead, they burn. Yeah. The ashes just create more zombies.
Zombie ash? I haven't really thought of that. Yes. Well, we'll just have to wait and see how it goes on the zombie. But I'm watching as much zombie films on DVD, zombie spoofs on YouTube, because you can never get too prepared for the zombie apocalypse when it comes.
That's right.
Yeah. It will come.
Matthew M. Barrett says Michael Chabon just wrote a story in the New Yorker that was based on Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
Oh, I'll have to have a read.
Check that one out, indeed. Yep.
Then.
And hello to the Stig888 who is watching. How are you today?
So guys, Stig, is that as in the driver?
As in the driver. So yes, we are live. So if you're watching this, you can just log into your YouTube account so you can actually comment as we are live, and we can read you out. So, zombie killing Minecraft style. Hey, this is one of those new young sort of kids who's got After Effects, knows what to do with it. Kind of fun. Very short video though, a bit short.
Now next one coming up, is the whole thing of real life video games, and I think this one here shows you just how big Goldeneye was. Goldeneye was like the first time you had a game like Doom on a home console working properly. Brilliant game. This actually reminded me a bit of the spoof that did you see Funny or Die did a spoof of LA Noire?
Right,
where it just shows you how crazy you think a game's realistic, but if you do put it in a real life setting. But anyway, we'll show you a little clip here. This is Goldeneye. What it would be like in real life.
Now, of course, this is not the original GoldenEye 64. This is a fan-made mod with updated graphics, and I'm checking it out. So far, I mean, it looks pretty realistic. I'm really impressed with it, especially for a fan-made thing. Now, this part really sucks. I'm actually going to save state right here because you have to escort Natalia, and I mean, from what I can remember in the original game, shoot that guy real fast, she's really dumb. And, she gets killed really easily at this part because she just, walks into the bullets. So, I'm going to be using save states quite a bit to get through this part. Oh my... See? That's exactly what I'm...
I mean, how many times do you curse non-playing characters for just getting in the way?
Oh, God, yeah.
It's really done really well. I like the fact that they had a voiceover. You know, if you're playing online and you're listening to other people doing commentary as you're playing the game.
That never really you couldn't do that with Goldeneye.
Well, no.
Well, I suppose maybe they're basing it on the new version of Goldeneye.
And what people do nowadays as
well.
well.
I'm thinking very much of the Nintendo 64. I still have a Nintendo 64 hooked up in my room to play on Goldeneye or Zelda should I want to.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's such a good game.
Did
you play Goldeneye?
I didn't. I've never played Goldeneye, I have to say. Sorry, folks. That makes me a bad video gamer, I know.
That's like saying, I don't know, that
I never had...
You've never seen Star Wars, or you've never watched Doctor Who, or you've never read a Marvel comic book, or you've never had sex, you know, something on that kind of level.
I don't know. I guess I was never a Nintendo type. I was a Sega Mega Drive type of person.
Okay.
Back in the day,
when
Mega Drive was cool. But anyway, hey, it's a great video. This one.
You'd never played Goldeneye, but you still got the joke.
I still got the joke.
Yes.
I still got the, obviously because they modernised it with that voiceover, which there's countless videos on YouTube where people are just making commentary over their video gaming, and like walkthroughs basically. And this is what it is. It's just sort of an example of a walkthrough. Where it all goes wrong and all the pitfalls. Very funny, really well done. I liked. Hey, I've always wanted. If you do real life video games, people would be constantly walking into walls and or just sort of getting stuck behind a chair or something and never being able to move. It's someone should do. Has someone done The Sims or something real life?
But I bet you they have.
Yeah, they must have done. They must have done.
Now, did you see the recent re-release of The Phantom Menace in 3D?
No, I didn't.
Well, I did. I went to the cinema to see it, and the sound broke down halfway through. So they ended up giving us tickets to go see another film for free. But I actually thought they took the sound off for half the film, so they thought it might make it like The Artist. Maybe if they got rid of the sound, it might actually be good. So
did the audience start filling in the words themselves, shouting out the lines,
but it was
creating their own script? That would have been great if you got that on YouTube. That would have been like a hit. Yeah. So Star Wars Episode 1, second time round in the cinemas. What did you think then? Well, of what you saw of it.
It's still. Oh, I saw the whole film. About 30 minutes of it was in silent. It's still a terrible film. And I was watching it, I myself was like saying, I think the problem for somebody like George Lucas is he doesn't have somebody who says to him, that's a bad idea.
That's a bad idea.
Or this needs editing. And the script, it was like the storyline and the script I felt was a good first draft.
Right.
But it needed to go to a fourth, fifth, sixth draft before they'd shot it as it was.
Sure, indeed.
And I think George Lucas is the only director in the world who can put Natalie Portman, Samuel L. Jackson and Liam Neeson in a film and still get bad performances out of them.
Ended. So,
but, what if Star Wars Episode 1 was good?
Yeah, this is Belated Media's recent video where they take you through their own idea of what Star Wars Episode 1 should have been.
Yeah.
And here is a short clip.
We open in similar fashion with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn going to Naboo. However, they aren't stopping directly at the Trade Federation because right now it's peacetime. Obi-Wan is wistfully looking off into space and reminiscing about the days of yore where they were brave Jedi Knights fighting the ultimate evil, the Sith. Whereas now they're going from routine checkups from planet to planet, kind of like galactic sheriffs. And Qui-Gon, who still is master, is like, dude, just be happy that the Sith aren't here anymore. Those were very dark times. In this moment, we get to see that Obi-Wan is naive, like Luke was at the start of his journey.
So what did you think of their analysis of
I thought,
Phantom Menace?
actually, he's quite spot on. He breaks down the story, taking the parts that he thinks, okay, these are the good bits. These are the bits that should have happened. These are the character arcs that would have worked better. Let's focus on Obi-Wan. Why have so many characters just confusing everything? And Darth Maul, you did expect him to sort of just pop up somewhere during like episode 3 or something.
Well, I think the problem with a character like Darth Maul was, I think if there'd been no promotion about him when the film came out, that would have been one thing. But there was so much hype
he became the
around
face, yeah.
Darth Maul that when you ended up seeing the film, you were kind of like, is that it? And you know, I think they're quite spot on myself, because, as I said, I think in that script there is the germ of a good idea, of a good story, but it just needed more focus. It needed work on it, and you know, I almost wondered if it was kind of like when I watched those films again, I thought it was almost like George Lucas had no interest in Obi-Wan, who really should have been the focal character. He kind of but he needed somebody to. He needed a good editor, script editor with him when he worked on that film.
And I never quite understand why Anakin was so young.
Well, apparently that was his. From what I understood, originally Anakin was going to be the same age as Padme, but then he thought that somebody of that age would not feel any loss from having to leave their mother. And it was about trying to give that sense, which I never really felt anyway.
No, not at all. But also, you know, when in episode 4, the original film, when Obi-Wan Kenobi talks about the Clone Wars, you get the sense of something that happened so far, you know, it was so far back in time. He's completely forgotten about the name he used to have. He's forgotten about these droids. You know, you get a sense. You know, yes, he's an old man, but you get a sense he's much older than he looks. Yeah. You know, that because he's a Jedi, he somehow lived. You know, like he's 200, 300 years old. So even though he might look like a 60-year-old man, he's actually about much.
I was always convinced when Obi-Wan Kenobi in the first film, the fourth film, what was for me the first film, started talking about Clone Wars, I always wondered, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That sounded like a code, you know, Obi-Wan. And I wondered if he was a clone, you know, if he was like a back. And if that was what you know, that seemed to me like an idea that may have been there that ended up being dropped or whatever. But
and then when you have like Luke and Leia being born, and then you think, okay, well, so it's only 18 years between him, and then suddenly Star Wars Episode 4 with episode. You think, well, it's not that long ago. I mean, you know, if you can't remember that, you know, that far back.
When you think about it, how old he must be a guy. Alec Guinness was in his 70s when he did Star Wars, and Ewan McGregor was like in his 30s. It's I don't know. It's the tattooing atmosphere was bad on him.
It just the timeline doesn't work, and it's a shame. It's a shame, but it's just like it's
one of those things in life in which the wanting is the better than the getting, because you do know if he'd never made those prequels, we as Star Wars fans would have been demanding them. And then when we got them, we were like, oh, it's a bit like the Matrix sequels or stuff like that. There's sometimes when doing a sequel to something, there's no way you can match up to the expectations. Well, I do agree with Simon Pegg's comments that you have to give it to the Wachowski brothers, because it took a whole brand new trilogy for George Lucas to screw up his saga, whereas they managed to do it by the second film.
It was that was a sort of a trilogy that didn't need to be a trilogy, really. Yeah, the first film was enough. Anyway, so Belated Media, youtube.com Belated Media. It's a great video. It's always had a lot of hits already. Check it out if you're a Star Wars fans. I'm sure he'd appreciate you commenting whether you agree or not. Check him out. So we've got a new another. Well, obviously the Avengers was released, but a few days before the Avengers was released, another film trailer was released that became quite a bit of a talk. Prometheus. That was also But the one that we're reviewing right now is the Comic-Con trailer.
Oh right,
of Morgan Spurlock's new film, which is a documentary about San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah, I've got to say this got on my nerves a bit, but I'll speak about that afterwards.
Welcome to Comic-Con. Sit in my chair. Let me make you look dead. Buckets off, everybody.
I'll never forget the first time I took a peek next to a stormtrooper and a Klingon. That could only happen at Comic-Con.
Okay, we're good.
All right, guys.
I was looking at my hotel room window and I saw 3 Ninja Turtles. Really?
So this is a feature documentary
I have
being
to
released
say,
soon.
this trailer really got on my nerves. And the
Tell
reason
us
I'll
why.
say is that there are conventions taking place all around the world. There's conventions in Germany, there's conventions in London. Europe were convention only last week in London. I'm running 6 events myself this year. You've got events in Australia, you've got events all over America, and Comic-Con is actually the biggest convention in the world. It gets 250,000 attendees. But what Comic-Con benefits from, it's close enough to Los Angeles
That no one has to
that,
bother.
well, it's close enough to Los Angeles that the film companies will take notice of it. But if you actually do a convention in Los Angeles, nobody would turn up because people in Los Angeles are just like, oh, celebrities, who cares?
Yeah.
So that's why, and you very much find what I feel Comic-Con is other conventions are about celebrating the stuff fans are into. Whereas
Yeah.
Comic-Con has very much become now
What they can sell you.
promoting
Yeah.
what is coming. So it's no longer about a fan celebration about their love. It's the film company saying, these are the new films we want you to go see, or the new product we want you to
And
buy.
that's the interesting thing, because it's called San Diego Comic Con, but actually all the news that comes out of it, no one actually talks about comics.
There's virtually no comic news, and when you see the amount of TV shows and films being promoted at Comic-Con, which aren't even within the genre. Bones has a panel at Comic-Con. Glee has a panel at Comic-Con. Prison Break used to have a panel at Comic-Con. Kind of like, you know, anything which might vaguely... Oh, we've got David Boreanaz, who used to be an angel. Let's take it to Comic-Con. It's like anything... But what gets me is when you watch something like this, and the celebrities are all talking, you'd think Comic-Con was the only event that happened in the bloody world.
Yeah.
And when you're hearing them coming out, you know, you see, what's his name, Seth Rogen or Zachary Quinto go, this is the only place you can see stormtroopers do this. There's somewhere where stormtroopers are doing that every week of the year in some city somewhere.
Certainly in the UK, we've got a stormtrooper company that turn up at every convention.
Well, they're all around the world.
Yeah.
The Vader's 501st, they call themselves. And when I go to FedCon in Germany or RingCon, see, there you go, FedCon in Germany, that gets 10,000 people to it, and they do another event called RingCon. And, you know, when you look at all the events, I really do hate it when I see something like this and it's not telling the whole picture. And yes, there is something to be celebrated about San Diego Comic-Con, and it is a phenomenon, but I do think out of all the events, to some extent, is the one I myself have the least interest in, because it's no longer about the fans celebrating what they love. It's about the film companies going, what can we sell to the fans? I mean, in effect, San Diego Comic-Con is almost becoming the Cannes Film Festival for geeks.
Right.
A lot of the film companies now saying it's more important to have a good film presentation at San Diego than it is to take a film to the Cannes Film Festival.
I did go to San Diego in 2000, about 12 years ago, and it already started. I mean, it wasn't as big as it is
really
now.
Exploded over the past few years.
But already there was a sense that, for instance, I went up onto the second level, and all the people that interested me, you know, it was like the cast of Beyond the Valley of the Dolls and stuff, you know, to go and get their autographs. These were, you know, proper cult actors, people in cult movies and cult TV series. That, you know, it was just empty. Yeah. Because they weren't the big celebrities that people were now coming to see. But they were the bread and butter of what Comic-Con always was.
There's even the thing that I found a bit frustrating on this. When you have actors presenting a different side of things for their fan, you know, and it's like you have the actors going on as if they love going to Comic Con and they love meeting their fans, when if you invited them to those actors to any other event, they wouldn't want to know.
Yeah.
And the reason they're going to Comic Con is because you've got all the film companies and the film producers there.
Part of that.
There's a lot of behind the scenes. Well, apart from the fact it's in their deal to go and promote their shows there, there's a lot of meetings taking place at Comic Cons, and a lot of dealings, and a lot of networking. Like Kristen Bell, she was at Comic Con to promote Veronica Mars, but it had just been cancelled, and the panel for Veronica Mars was on just before the panel for Heroes. So she met the Heroes producers while at Comic Con and got cast on Heroes. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. That's why a lot of also actors go to it. But it does frustrate me when you see those actors going, "Oh, we love meeting the fans." Then you invite them to something over here, whatever, and they just don't want to know.
So the I mean, they're presenting that it's going to be following 3 characters.
Yeah.
In this documentary,
That's what I'd like to see. Yes.
You know. And I suppose in the trailer, they're shoving all the celebrities in it, but hopefully they're not actually what the real main focus of this documentary is going to be. So we have to wait and really see. But yes, if you looked at this trailer, you would think, oh, it's what's Seth Rogen got to say? Oh, let's go and watch this film. But actually, it seems to hopefully be about the comic book artist who's trying to get some work, which is obviously one of the reasons why people go to these things.
I mean, I do remember when I used to go to UCAC, what a terrible sounding name, UK Comic Art Convention, when I was a teenager, and you would see all guys there with their artwork, getting the editors of Marvel and DC and whatever to have a look through there. And that was how you actually, when you read a lot of the bios of the artists, these comic conventions are very important for up and coming talent to meet the companies and get some work within the industry.
And they had some of that at London Super Comic Con actually.
Yes.
And that, obviously when the guy from IDW was there in the booth, the queue with people, with artists with their portfolios was massive, and people had to wait a long time. But for the chance to actually present your artwork to IDW Comics, hey, you'd wait 2 hours, 3 hours if you had to. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe, hopefully, they'll have another trailer. We'll get a bit more of a flavour. But on the surface, I see what you mean.
I am frustrated that it makes out Comic Con is the be all and end all of it when it's not.
Yeah.
And I really can't tell, looking from the trailer, whether it's something which is going to support the fans, or if it's going to take a look at it from the side of the crazy, wacky fans.
No,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
I couldn't get a handle on which way that's going to go.
Yeah.
That said, though, I can't help to some extent sympathise with them when you're at one of these events and you're interviewing somebody who's dressed up as the Green Lantern, but they're a normal, grounded person, and then there's that guy dressed up as Batman who's a freak. What's going to look better on your...
What was actually amazing, because I interviewed, if you haven't yet been to those Video Guys TV YouTube channel, check it out. We've already posted some of my interviews with cosplayers at the London Super Comic Con. But what I found kind of interesting is when I was asking people to interview them, is actually, despite the fact that they're all dressed up in these outfits, how shy some of them really are.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Really shy. It's just like, they're being quite outrageous. They're being, what would on the surface seem really, really, hey, look at me, take pictures of me. Because they've all got their poses, and they love it when people stop and take pictures. But suddenly, when you want them to talk...
I find if you try to shove a video, not even getting the sort, just shoving a video camera at them can be very difficult. But I went to Dragon Con.
Yeah.
And I cosplayed at it a few years back. And...
photos are up somewhere.
They are on my Facebook. I went as Rorschach one day. And the funny thing is, when I was dressed as Rorschach, I couldn't move for more than 5 seconds without having to pose for a photo. On the flip side, I then went the next day as Doctor Doom, and I thought it was a great costume, and not one person asked me for a photo.
There was a pretty good Doctor Doom actually at Super Comic Con. I think you would have enjoyed it. Although he seemed to have a bit of a hunchback. I don't know, he's somehow
that's
the back of his
is his jetpack.
Anyway, so our web series of the week, Sean.
Yes.
Danger 5, The Diamond Girls.
Great title.
This is our first web series review, I think, from a web series from Australia.
Really?
I believe so. I don't think
Well,
we've reviewed.
I'm glad to hear that.
I don't think we've done
getting
Australia.
so much stuff from Los Angeles all the time. You know,
So-
it's bad enough that, you know, it's nice to see talent from around the world. So it's good to see Australia
So
putting something forward.
I should preface the trailer that we're about to show for Danger 5. This is actually a TV series and a web series. And so this trailer has clips from both the web series and the TV series. So when you watch it, don't think, oh wow, this is all the web series, because some of it is actually from the TV series.
Alright, let's get straight to the biscuits. World War II. The Nazis are making their mark on Europe. Adolf Hitler wants to take the world and keep it all for himself. Hitler's days are numbered because Danger 5 are on the case.
Get your fascist mouth away from me!
You hit the wall!
I hit a Nazi!
Scouring the furthest corners of the globe to unravel Hitler's most sinister plans.
Now it looks like Hitler is using the bullion winnings from his casino to rearm the entire German army with superior golden superweapons made of gold.
Ilsa was married to Rommel.
I've been married to things a lot scarier than Nazis, my friend.
Marriage is a waste of time if you ask me.
As long as this is intact, any organism is a crystal implant is completely under our control. Und ich lade die Alliierten gerne dazu ein, ihn hier so weit unten zu finden.
Well, I guess you have no more mutants left for them to fight. You may as well pardon them.
Oh, I'll pardon them. I'll pardon them each in the face with my gun.
Wait! Don't! Гитлер и император используют это место для зомбирования людей. Здесь они превращают их в солдат-роботов. Так это.
Domo arigato.
Danger 5 is armed with a cast of powerful newcomers. David Ashby as Jackson, Aldo Mignone as Pierre, Sean James Murphy as Tucker, Natasha Ristich as Ilsa, Amanda Simons as Claire, and Carmine Rousseau as Adolf Hitler.
You haven't lived until you've seen a Triceratops wearing a Nazi logo.
Nazi dinosaurs. Oh,
Yes.
wow.
I kind of expected to see the name Lou Grade come up at the end of it, and ITC Productions. It's a very faithful, loving parody of that kind of
60s
era of, you know, Thunderbirds and the prison. I don't think I saw a Prisoner Jacket then. The
And Toho's Japanese Godzilla films.
Well, you say that there was actually Ultraman. The Japanese series Ultraman was so big in Japan and so big in Australia, they produced one series of Ultraman in Australia. So that might explain why there's the Ultraman references in there as well.
So this is a TV series called Danger 5 for SBS.
Is that going to come over here?
Well, let's hope so. It only just starts, I think, next week. But they've released a web series to go with it, which is essentially the first adventure of the Danger 5 team. And it's called The Diamond Girls, and it's in which the 5 spies go in the search of Hitler in the Bahamas, and Hitler himself has come up with this formula which can turn his female bodyguard's skin into hard diamonds so they can't be killed. They're bulletproof babes. I loved it, every minute of it. I mean, it's possibly one of my favourite web series that we've reviewed.
And I certainly do get the whole Geek credentials there's real love in that.
It's the production design, the lighting, the acting, the script. It's just all in there. It's a bizarre World War II, which is actually in the 1960s. It's so surreal and strange. It's I like the Eagle Man with his prisoner jacket. I mean, the boss is he's got an eagle head. I mean, there's it's so hard to describe it. You just have to watch it. Danger5.tv. It's just brilliant. And like I said, I think it's one of my favourite ones.
So I think it's martinis all around.
Oh, definitely top martinis on that one. And it's got hot babes as well. Hot babes as well. So all the Nazis were actually all women. They were sort of like sexy Nazi. I don't know if that's sort of.
All the men got killed in the Second World War. So it's just Nazi women.
There you go. So sort of Hitler surrounded himself with just babes in their 20s.
If I was a powerful dictator, I mean, look at Sacha Baron Cohen at the Oscars. If I was a powerful dictator, I'd just surround myself with babes.
So web series of the week, Danger5, Danger5.tv. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and look forward to it. So moving on. Did you watch the new Prometheus video?
I did. What?
The Guy Pearce one.
I know. I haven't seen the Guy Pearce.
Well, they've released.
I only saw the trailer. Is this the one where he says it has absolutely nothing to do with Alien apart from he's Mr. Wayland?
Well, this is the thing. What they've done is, yes, the trailer is out, but they've released a new video called, which is essentially, TED, the online speech website. It's usually sort of important people doing speeches about various aspects of different types of businesses. So what they've done is TED have done a speech by Wayland set in 2023 about what's in store for the future of his company and what his vision is. And it's almost as like a prequel. So it's a self-contained, directed by Luke Scott, not Ridley Scott. And it's a self-contained prequel prologue.
Are you getting excited for Prometheus?
Yeah, it's looking good.
You're not worried it might be the Phantom Menace all over again?
I don't think we need to worry about that one. I think, Ridley Scott, George
Rumour has
Lucas.
it the aliens themselves will not even appear.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, because judging by this prologues episode, which they've just released purely just, I guess, for the internet, it's going to be about technology, about human endeavour. I don't know. It's almost like.
Well, from what I understand, it's more about
it's the
humans' first contact with the space jockey.
Yeah, it's almost it's Enterprise. It's the Enterprise world in conjunction to the Star Trek world.
Yeah.
It's the early days. It's the pioneers. That's why you get a sense.
Please don't bring Enterprise into this. That's going to put me off seeing it all together.
So check it out, guys. Just look on the internet for Prometheus Viral.
How did you feel about the Oscars?
You know what? I actually couldn't be bothered to watch it. I wasn't.
Well, you want to know something? I think the big problem with the Oscars is it shouldn't be any longer than any of the films they're giving awards to. B, they should take a look at the Golden Globes. That's short, and they let the actors get drunk while it's going on, so you have far more interesting acceptance speeches.
But when Billy Crystal starts singing and dancing at the start, you just say, well, you know what, I'm just going to switch off. It's so old-fashioned. It's so.
Well,
it's
the
just
Oscars,
like
the Oscars is the only thing in the world where they can say, only Billy Crystal can save us now.
It's like they're stuck in the 1970s or something.
Well, actually, when you think about it,
change the presenter, modernise the show.
When you say modernise it, they had Anne Hathaway and James Franco last year, and that was like the worst Oscars ever.
But they didn't modernise it. They kept them in that sort of Billy Crystal, old school. Hey, let's do tap dancing, and it's not the 1930s. It's not that show business world, and let's be a bit more socially aware.
Do you think it would have been a bit better if they had let was it Michael Bay?
What, Bay in a Can?
She wasn't Michael Bay.
Give Bay in a Can.
It was one of those type who was originally going to produce this year's Oscars and have it presented by
have Sacha Baron Cohen present it. That's the answer.
No, it was going to be Eddie Murphy presenting it.
But Eddie Murphy